I ain't gonna lie. I think this is probably one of the best, if not the best, early game team comp. Probably, possible. We're just gonna go with it because I'm the one putting out the content. Howdy, howdy, and welcome back to another video for Lord of Heroes. Now I need you to hit those like and subscribe buttons as we be posting that content. Alright, so I wanted to go over basic F2P early game guide for you guys that's looking to start the game. We're getting close to global release, so I want to put together some content to help you guys understand what you should be doing when you start this game. Granted, they don't make any drastic changes through the global release, which I don't think is going to be that big of any changes, but hopefully they do make some changes. When you start in the game, you're gonna get a few heroes that they start you with. My buddy Johan is one of them. He's a really good one that they start you off with. The same with Mikhail. You will have him early. You'll have this Charlotte early. You will have this Fram early on as well. As you start progressing, they're going to give you plenty of free to play heroes that you will pick up and use, and all of them are great. All of them are great to some extent. The one that I think is the least out of them all is the Fire Mei. She's just not really the best. It's just what she does is okay. I mean, you can put her to use, but I think her value isn't as great as others, especially her being the sniper class. There's better snipers that you will pick up. Green Schneider is gonna be good for you to use, especially for certain fights, because there's gonna be a few boss fights that I probably have going on the screen. That's gonna be these are the ones that stand out the most. There's going to be a few that could probably hit you a little bit, but just from my experience playing a few times through the game, these couple boss fights are the ones that really, like, even once you get through normal, when you go back through hard and go back through extreme, these same boss fights hurt. They hurt. They hurt, so you want to be prepared and have the right tools for them. Do get Zyra here as well, but I prefer Fram over Zyra just because Fram has a death break on her skill one. Even though you don't really need a death break, you just need to pretty much survive based on this strategy that I'm going to explain in a second. So I am still working on this early game tier list. It probably won't be out with this video, but I'm going to give a base rundown of who you'll be picking up or who you'll be using. I've been testing a new strategy, something that I wanted to try out. Actually, I did try out, but I just didn't like what it came out to be. And I'm going to explain that because it's really important for you to know, because it's going to definitely depict how your early game is going to be, because there's a couple strategies that you can use. The first one is the only healer that you're going to have is the Green Charlotte. She's going to be the one that you have to start off with. She is really strong. She is really great. You're going to build her. You're going to use her. She starts off as a 3-star, and you see I have her here, and this is my new alternate account that she's 4-star. She's 4-star just because you're going to need her to help carry you through the early game, because you're going to be wanting to unlock certain heroes. Now, the two clerics that's going to be important for you to unlock is going to be the red Vanessa and the blue Vanessa. Both of them are really strong. The blue Vanessa requires you to save up 6,000 of your gems, 6,000 of them, which I don't recommend you do right away. The first thing I think you should do is take about 3,000 gems, go to your alchemy, and buy gear. You want to buy the 11 times gear, just 3,000 of it. Your first 3,000 pretty much that you're going to get. You're going to be able to farm this easy, 3-star missions, events, promo codes, and whatever whatnot that the game has for you. You're going to get plenty of it early on. There's probably going to be a banner going on. I prefer you go for striker gear, because if you can get some early striker gear for your DPS carry, that's going to be great. Warrior is okay as well, but I don't recommend that. That may be a secondary thing. Cleric gear can be good too, but I wouldn't recommend going for that either. It's all going to be random, but you're just going to have a higher chance of getting this specific class gear and for this hero, which you're not going to worry about that because even if it is a piece of gear for that specific hero, you can use it on any hero for that class. You just won't get the bonus ability attached to it. But you definitely want to look for this symbol here, which is the striker class. Whatever you can get that that banner whenever you start the game, or when a game is released globally, or if you're starting on the Korean version like I'm playing right now, then that's exactly what you want to do. After that, you have two routes that you can go. This all depends because this is like a F2P guide here, mind you, but this all depends on your level of patience. Your level of patience. The first one is to save up the rest of your gems to get the blue Vanessa, which, like I said before, costs 6,000, or go for the red Vanessa, which she costs 500,000 renown. I believe you can possibly get her before you complete normal, but you have to 3-star everything prior to. You have to make sure you're on top of your expeditions and getting as much renown as possible, or you might have to wait until after you complete normal to get her, which isn't that bad. I mean, you're going to see my strategy of what I use, how I use her and everything, especially for the final boss fight, how I use her and everything to survive. But the green Charlotte and her shield is still going to be good enough. If you've been here before, if you've seen any of my older content, you should definitely check that stuff out because I've already went through kind of this content already, but this is more up to date and I believe a better version. But before you able to get the red Vanessa, you have to take 3,000 of your gems and get the blue Charlotte. Once again, if you saw any of my old content, I use both the blue Charlotte and the green Charlotte in order to beat the final boss my very first time doing it on my main account. After that, it was mostly just green Charlotte and blue Vanessa for the most part. But on this account, I went blue Vanessa, red Vanessa. Now, I know you're asking why red Vanessa. Because on her burst skill, she has an invincibility. You're invulnerable to everything, but only for one turn. So this is where the trick comes in. What I'm saying, why you really need to pay attention, is the fact that since it's only one turn, she needs to be the slowest unit on your team, but faster than the boss. And I rate this basically faster than the final boss. This is just enough speed, I believe, to be faster than the final boss. 113 speed here. I think maybe at the very least 110. You want all your other heroes faster than her. I wasn't exactly able to get everybody completely fast, and it's going to take a little bit of working because some of your heroes might get out of place and out of turn, especially as you go through the content. So it's a bit of a trick to it. So you definitely want to be leveling up your team, leveling up your gear. I kind of go through my team, the gear and everything, the levels that they're on for you to be able to complete everything, their stats. Just going to go through it real quick so you can kind of see the stats, their gear, and what they have, and how strong they are. I've invested most of my efforts into the blue Helga here. As you can see, she's the only 5-star that I have. You don't necessarily need a 5-star to complete the normal game mode. I just went ahead and do it because it makes it easier. If you can make it, it makes it easier. If not, it's not that important as well. It is a lot easier to level now because of various reasons and other videos that I explained with potions and all of that. So it's not as difficult as it was when the Korean version first was released. But I believe the Water Helga is probably one of the best early game units you can have and real important. My team, as you can see in the videos, is the Water Helga, the light Johan, the the green Astrid, red Vanessa, and blue Vanessa. I'm struggling. I'm struggling here with my words, but bear with me. Now, the reason why I chose this team specifically, you're definitely going to want to build at least one of each class, at least because it's hard to get the materials for any class, let alone getting multiple materials for the same class, especially for your DPS. Clerics, you're definitely going to need at least two clerics, just to make content a lot easier, so you don't have to worry about being super strong to clear content. You just need to be able to survive to clear the boss content and that stuff. So that is going to be important. So as far as your striker, your warrior, and your sniper, you want them to be on completely different attributes. The reason why behind that is because you're going to face bosses that are going to have the advantage against you. Your clerics are going to be built as tanks. So since they're going to have the tankier stats, they won't have that much of a problem taking damage from being attribute disadvantage. Where your DPS, you're going to be building them for damage, they will have those problems. And it's going to be hard for you to clear content, especially once you get in hard and extreme, when you are at the disadvantage and can easily be one-shotted or two-shotted, depending on the difficulty when you have those. And when building, you're building pretty much for the final boss. That's what you're building your team around. I prefer having attribute neutrality, even though when you do have those battles against light and dark elements, Mikhail and Johanna will have slight troubles, but they're still going to be strong against those. But you won't have the problems of your water, your fire, and your earth attributes. You're definitely going to use those two starting off, because they have those attribute neutralities, and that's what's going to be important in facing that. And then Mikhail is going to be the first 4-star that you get, so it's going to be easier. He's going to have higher base stats. It's going to be easier to use him. By the time you get Astrid unlocked, you can take out Mikhail and use Astrid. She's going to provide you with the ability to be able to kill multiple targets. If she kills one, she can attack again, but she can't do any more than that. Then she can strip debuff, which before I didn't really think was going to be that great, but as you will be able to see in the final boss fight that'll be on the screen, that this is really good. And I tell you, if you don't like the video now, you tripping. And make sure you subscribe as well. So finally, there's only two bosses that I have seen so far that Johan cannot provoke off of his first skill, and that is the salamander boss that you will see on the screen and the final boss. Other than that, every single other boss in the game he can provoke. That can buy you time, especially when you're running the red Charlotte, for her to be able to, because it costs four spirit. So you might not have the spirit to protect you one turn, but it buys you that time. Or you have the spirit, but you don't have to waste that skill because you have the boss provoke for that turn. Also, having an AoE attack break on second skill just gives you a slight advantage against the enemy. This is why I prefer having him later on. You don't necessarily need him, but I believe he's the best to have in your early game and as you progress. After 7 days of playing, you will get Olivia. Olivia, I mean, she's a good sniper. I use her on my main and everything, but she has attack bar manipulation. And the one thing you don't really want to do when you're running Red Charlotte is have attack bar manipulation of any kind, because it can throw off the synergies and where your team is going to be, and can put you in a real bad position if you're using Red Charlotte to make your team invincible. So things that boost your turns or reduce the enemy's turn bar, you definitely don't want to have that in her team. But just only in that situation. You can use it, but it doesn't. But like I said, it just doesn't work that well that way. Things like Chrome and Olivia won't work as best. But if you're running the Green Charlotte, which is still fine too, then by all means do what you do. Strikers are pretty unique. I'm actually glad that I had got the striker gear that gives you kind of the ignore defense when you attack. It's a 4 set. No guarantee that you will get perfect gear. Like even mine on her is not perfect. Like that would be better if it was attack. I mean, it makes her tanky. Like she is decently tanky, so she's able to survive a little bit on against the final boss. Like you don't necessarily need to be to have like the highest attack. You just need survival. So since she's decently tanky, that actually works out for me. But I would like to have attack just to do a little bit more damage. That would be nice. And then she also has piercing abilities on some of her skill, as well as sap damage, which is like poison, which can help you out and be pretty beneficial. But the striker class is unique just because they can ignore enemy defense, and that just gives you that extra bit of damage, so you're not in the battle for too long, because you don't want to try to cycle too many turns. You want to be able to do it as decently. You don't really need an attack buff. You don't really need a defense break. From what I've learning recently playing through this account, is not as important, because you will be using like, yeah, the water frame until you get the water Helga, or I would, yeah, probably about the water Helga. So I mean, as you go along, you're gonna move around and change things, and that sort of speak. All right, I think that's pretty much it for the most part. I mean, if you paying attention to some of the battling that's going on the screen, I'm not sure how this is going to be in the video. You'll kind of see exactly what I'm doing and what I'm going through, and the boss fights and everything. But other than that, this is just a basic rundown of the early game and what you should be working towards. So if you do enjoy, make sure you smash that like button. If you didn't, there is a button for you guys as well. Link to the Discord where we talk about the games we play, including this game, will be in the description box below, as well as the pinned comment below. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe and turn those post notifications on, because we're getting so close to the global release, and I want to be able to provide some more content for you guys once we get there and before we get there, so we can all be on the same page and in one accord, and all that other good stuff of being one. And all right, this is it. Gamer Dude signing out. I'll see you next time. Deuces.